Now then, people, it's Joe, it's all Leeds TV. The international break is done. We're back finally, thankfully. And I've got Harry here from the Chronicles of a Gooner and of 90minute.com to have a quick chat about the big fixture this Sunday. How are you doing, Harry? All right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Just a bit bored at home with all the lockdown stuff, but
Yeah.
it could be worse, couldn't it? It could be
Yeah,
worse.
yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Watching England's, well, I say watching England's been like pulling teeth. I don't watch it. I don't watch it. I
I
don't put
don't blame
myself
you.
through it.
I
Yeah,
don't
I don't
blame
put
you.
myself through it. But yeah, let's get into it. Obviously, big fixture for Leeds United fans. Huge club, Arsenal. One of them, top six sides that you want to be back in the Premier League for. No bones about it. Arsenal are up there. Huge fixture. From an Arsenal perspective, we did a stream yesterday, and I seen a little bits flying in. Party's out, El Neni's out. What's it like from an Arsenal perspective in terms of bodies at the minute, mate?
Well, we kind of led to believe that Thomas Partey might be okay. The
Okay.
noises coming out of the club suggest that actually the injury that he sustained in the last game isn't as serious as first thought. He didn't go on international duty with Ghana. He stayed behind, but sort of some of the big high-profile Arsenal journalists are reporting that the feeling amongst everybody at the moment is that he will make the squad on Sunday. Don't know if he'll start, but he will make the squad. As for Mohamed Elneny, he's tested positive for COVID-19 whilst on international duty with Egypt. Arsenal are going to have a problem even getting him back into the country at the moment, I think, until his quarantine period is done. So he's definitely not available. And it's a bit of a blow for us because obviously that was the midfield pairing when we went to Old Trafford and we won 1-0. It was a pairing of Partey and Elneny, and if one's going to be half fit and one's missing, then obviously it's a little bit of a concern for us.
Yeah, who comes in then for them? Do you think, if obviously El Nenny's not going to make it? We've fell victim to that as well. Obviously, Rodrigo, he went away. He contracted COVID, had a positive test, and we've massively missed him. Like, it just showed just how much he brought to the side. Because obviously, since he's come out of the side, we've been on a bit of a barren run, and I'm sure we'll touch on it. But who comes in to replace both of them in the side?
It's likely to be a pairing of Granit Xhaka and Dani Ceballos, which is pretty much what we ended last season with. It's the pairing that won us the FA Cup. So it's not a major worry for Arsenal in terms of particularly El Neni being out because, I know he's played well in recent weeks, but this is a guy who's really come in from the cold of late.
Yeah.
So Xhaka and Ceballos will be the pairing. And to be honest, I think those two give us a nice balance, but we just lack that bit of dynamism that Thomas Partey gives you if he doesn't play. I've got a suspicion that he will play. I do think he'll be in the starting 11, but if he's not, I still think that it's a pretty solid midfield pairing in Granit Xhaka and Dani Ceballos.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what depth and longevity in the Premier League gives you, because the ones that we've had to call upon haven't had the experience of a Xhaka, of a Ceballos, So, like you say, even if there are injuries, you've got enough quality there to
What I
call
will
upon.
say though, what I will say is for the way you guys play with the sort of high intensity, the energy, the press, you could catch somebody like Granit Xhaka out. For all the positives about his game, he is a little bit slow at times, and sometimes struggles with that intense approach, and so that's probably a little bit of a worry actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a Leeds perspective as well, hopefully, fingers crossed, we've not had any press conference, haven't heard much yet, but fingers crossed Calvin's going to be back. Rodrigo's now back at four parch after his isolation, so that's huge. Rafinha hopefully comes in for Costa from my perspective, So I just think the Leeds United side is going to have a totally different look about it, and I'm slightly optimistic for the game, and the reason that being, and maybe you can touch on it for me, Harry. Obviously, Leeds United have conceded the most goals in the Premier League, but I believe Arsenal are up there with the least amount of shots. Is it? Is that right?
Yeah, we're not creating much at the moment. It's kind of been the big problem under Mikel Arteta. When he first came in, I think everybody agreed that the first port of call was we need to tighten up that defence. We need to not be so vulnerable and become more difficult to beat. And he's certainly done that, but it's been at the expense of the attacking flair that you would have associated with Arsenal for the last 20 odd years. And that's where people are starting to get a little bit frustrated now. And what I always say to people is when you get the right result, then people will brush that under the carpet. For example, when we went to Old Trafford, you know, yes, we were good in the first half, but in the second half, I don't remember us doing anything from an attacking point of view. But you win the game 1-0, you come away and nobody's talking about that. We got over the line against West Ham, against Sheffield United. But then when you get games like the game against Leicester, where we couldn't break them down, we did have a couple of opportunities, but we were limited to very few. And then they go down the other end and hit you with a sucker punch and beat you 1-0. Then that talk comes up again. And then obviously the display against Aston Villa was a shambles. So it's been a tough time of late for Mikel Arteta. And believe it or not, even this early in his tenure, there are a fair few Arsenal fans getting on his back now. And, you know, talking about this next run of fixtures as being really key and really pivotal.
So where do you lie with that, Harry? Obviously, I know you're not shy for coming forward. You know, you've question marked his decision making at times. You know, maybe player selection as well, and you've mentioned the creativity. But where do you stand on that? Because I remember doing a show not too long ago, and I think this was before the Man United game, and obviously winning that game is huge for Arsenal. It's first time away at top six since like 2015, I think. So it's a big thing. But I think at that point, prior to that game, his record was actually worse than Emery's had been. I know he'd obviously won cups, etc. But where are your thoughts on Arteta? I'm a big fan, but what's your thoughts on him?
I was really not a fan of Unai Emery. So for me, when Unai Emery left, I was over the moon. I called Unai Emery out from probably, I would say, December last year. I was probably sort of one of the first people, and I took so much abuse on social media and on the radio and various other things because of my kind of stance on Unai Emery. But I never really saw what the vision was from him. Mikel Arteta's come in, and I think the first port of call, as I've already said, was to make us harder to beat. He's done that. Now the next challenge is to find the balance between being that stubborn defensive unit, but also taking the shackles off at certain points in games and in certain fixtures to allow us to play the free-flowing attacking football. But with Mikel Arteta, when he stands there and he talks and he gives you an interview or a press conference, he's somebody that you can look at and you can believe in. You can get behind what he's doing. I've said it all along. There are going to be bumps in the road because, let's be honest, he inherited an absolute load of rubbish from Unai Emery. You know, people will say that, that Emery didn't really get backed, and he didn't. But the core of the team at the time Emery took over compared to when Arteta did was stronger. He had the likes of Petr Cech. He had Aaron Ramsey. He had Laurent Koscielny, who had been the club's best centre-back probably for the last decade. So, you know, he had that there. When Mikel Arteta come in, he took over a team that were languishing in mid-table, really, really struggling for confidence. He's managed to bring in two top players, I think, in Gabriel and Thomas Partey. He's managed to tie Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang down to a contract, which, let's be honest, if Unai Emery was still the boss, that wouldn't have happened. He's won the FA Cup along the way. In a strange way, winning the FA Cup has actually put more pressure on Mikel Arteta because people just thought that we were at a point beyond where we actually are, and the expectation automatically went up. It's not the case. This is going to be a really long rebuilding process, and I'm not on his back. I will question certain decisions, and I think every fan, you know, who pays money to watch the club or just pays in their time to watch the club has a right to question certain decisions. But to be sitting here, 9 games into the Premier League season, bearing in mind that of the 4 we've lost, 2 of them were away to City, away to Liverpool. One of them was Leicester, who are going to be sort of punching around the top 6, I think, this season. And then the other one was Villa, who, again, have been in form this season. So when the table starts to even out a little bit more, when people have played more games, then we'll start to get an understanding of where Mikel Arteta's Arsenal are at. But for the time being, I'm not Mikel out by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's far too soon for any of that, isn't it? But I get what you're saying. Like, obviously, me, Leeds United just coming up, not having a vast amount of knowledge of Premier League football, mainly focusing on the Championship, coming up, seeing Arteta win, and I was like, Arsenal could push that top 2. And then as it's unfolding, I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong, but who knows? It's still early days. But you touched on that Villa result. What happened, man? Like, it's obviously from Leeds' perspective, we gave them a bit of a spanking. In the last 4 we've played since the international bit, we beat them 3-0. Patrick Bamford getting a hat trick, and we've lost the rest, you know. But what happened in that Arsenal game? That Villa game, Harry. What went wrong?
I think we were just caught cold from the very beginning, to be honest. You know, you have off days like that. And when we talk about the improvements that Mikel Arteta's made, let's not forget that the majority of the side is not his side. It's players that he's inherited, and that lapse of concentration, that being unable to start games strongly. You know, we went for a really long period under Emery, even previously, where we were never in front at half time. So this team have been slow starters for a while. And Villa caught us cold really early doors. They had a goal ruled out within about, there was about 2 minutes on the clock. It was called out for an offside, which was correct. But, you know, that just showed you the intensity with which Villa had started the game in comparison to us. And from then, we never really recovered. And I felt like there was a little bit of pressure on Mikel Arteta to having sort of some of the results that have occurred of late and some of the performances. There was a bit of a pressure on Mikel Arteta going into that game to open us up a little bit. And that pressure increased when Villa took the lead fairly early on. But you're talking about Ross Barkley, you're talking about Jack Grealish, Ollie Watkins has been a revelation, I think, since coming into the Premier League. And the minute Villa took the lead and Arsenal started to try and chase the game, we were leaving spaces and we got exposed and ultimately got beaten quite well. So I don't want to sit here and be reactionary and say that Arsenal have gone back 2 steps, because it was a one-off. I think the other games that we've lost, Liverpool, we didn't get disgraced. Manchester City, we lost it by 1 goal. Leicester, we lost by a late sucker punch, Jamie Vardy goal. This was the first of the defeats where you actually looked and thought, Jesus, this is not good. So, you know, I'm going to be a little bit patient. I think he has got a key run of games coming up now. He's got yourselves, we've got Wolves coming up, and we've got a small matter of the North London derby at the start of next month, which is always a big game, and that's one that he needs to get something from, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. I think I can like sympathise, you know, with where you're coming from, because the last 2 games for Leeds United, obviously conceding 8 goals, only scoring 2. We've gone all of a sudden from this real optimism, pushing for Europe, to, oh God, we're going to get relegated. You know what I mean? It's just how quick it can flip. But even you talk about starting slowly and stuff there, that really gives me renewed hope, because one thing with Leeds United, you know, we'll start from the off, you know, we'll press from the off. So hopefully, you know, we can catch Arsenal cold. You know, you've mentioned Gabriel there, obviously great signing. Who else can? I'll tell you what, Harry, what can we expect from lineup wise from Arsenal Sunday?
I think you'll see the formation that Mikel's persisted with for a while now, which is kind of a back 3 that shifts into a back 4 in certain situations. So if I had to predict the lineup, I'd say it'll be Bernd Leno in goal. I think the back 3 will probably be David Luiz, Gabriel and Kieran Tierney. Hector Bellerin will be the right wing back. Probably Bukayo Saka on the left, because, as I said, the system shifts. When Arsenal have the ball, what you'll see Kieran Tierney move from left centre-back to left-back, and Bellerin tuck in as a right-back, and then it becomes a back 4. And Saka, just because of his ability on the ball, will step into that midfield and add another body in there. So you'll probably see Saka in there alongside, let's assume that Partey doesn't start, you'll see him alongside Xhaka and Ceballos. One of those two will miss out if Partey is fit, you'd assume. Front 3 is where we expect maybe to see some changes from Arsenal, because Aubameyang's been playing from the left for a while now. Let's be honest, when Mikel Arteta first took over and in sort of in the FA Cup run, and even at the start of this campaign, it was working, but it's not working now. So me personally, I want to see Aubameyang move back through the middle, but I'm not sure that Mikel would do that. Which means that you're probably going to see Alexander Lacazette in the side as well. And then the position on the right is up for grabs. Me personally, I'd play Nicolas Pepe. Gets a lot of stick, but he really does impact games, even if he is frustrating at times. And we're reading something about Willian this evening, which I don't know if it's true, that he went to Dubai when he shouldn't have, and he's going to have a test. If that test is negative, then he'll obviously be in the side. But yeah, the front 3 is where it's very contentious for Arsenal at the moment, because the fans are calling for him to change it, to get Aubameyang playing back through the middle, to take Lacazette out of the side, because he's just missed so many key chances of late. I don't know, though, whether Mikel Arteta will bow to that pressure or if he'll persist with what he's been doing so far.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned obviously Lacazette there, not in great form, and obviously Aubameyang as well. Since he's signed his new deal, the goals have sort of dried up. Do you know what do you think's going on there, mate? You know, is it just due to the style of play and the amount of opportunities you're carving out, or what's going on with
Yeah,
Aubameyang?
I'd probably say it's that. I think he's taken a lot of heat from certain sections of the media about the fact that the goals have dried up. But he's playing in this kind of inside left forward position at the moment, and Arsenal simply aren't creating chances. We're sort of creating one or two big opportunities a game, and they've both been falling to Alexander Lacazette, and he's not been taking them. And you do wonder, and you do sit here as an Arsenal fan and scratch your head and think, if Aubameyang was in those positions rather than Lacazette, in the game against Leicester, for example, where he missed a really key chance at 0-0, does that game pan out differently? Lacazette missed some big chances at Anfield as well. I know he scored at Anfield, but when it was 2-1 to Liverpool, he went through on goal with Alisson one-on-one, and he completely fluffed his line. So you do sit here and wonder if Aubameyang's being wasted. And having broken the bank to get this guy to sign a 3-year deal, you do sit here and think, come on, you've got to use him in the position that works best. I get it in some games because I feel like the coming in from the left sometimes allows him to drift in unmarked and often unnoticed and a little bit later. And sometimes that creates the space. And on the counter-attack, his pace in a wide area is important. But we're not even creating chances that way now. So I think it's time for a change. Look, Aubameyang's goal record since he joined Arsenal is incredible. It's unreal. I can't for a second sit here and say that overnight he's lost that or his head's gone or anything like that. It just feels to me like Arsenal aren't performing as a whole, and he's one of the number of people that are suffering from that.
Yeah, it's a media narrative, innit? He signed a new deal and now he's stopped scoring, or it's because he took his foot off the gas. It's just media narrative, innit, at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But what I think a lot of Leeds United fans are looking at, say, the games that we've lost against Wolves, against Leicester, against Palace. They sit in, they like to catch teams on the counter. And maybe not a lot of teams who've seen a lot of Arsenal and not sure how Arteta likes to go about his business would think it would be free-flowing and it would, be all-out attack, and therefore they would leave a lot of space. But it's not been the case, has it? You've been playing quite a counter-attacking style yourself, right?
Yeah, I think Mikel Arteta will come to Ellen Road and sit back.
Yeah.
I do think that he'll be well aware of Marcelo Bielsa, his methods. He's a disciple of Pep Guardiola, who's a disciple of Marcelo Bielsa. So he's somebody that he will have studied. He's somebody he's spoken about very highly in the past. And I'm sure that he will be aware of Leeds' desire to start fast, put us under pressure. And I think you'll see Arsenal sit pretty deep early on in the game and try and weather that early storm and hope that Leeds, I don't want to say burn out, but that kind of intensity, they're not able to maintain that for 90 minutes, and we can capitalise when the chance comes along.
Yeah. That's the thing, and that's key from a Leeds United perspective. We need to take our opportunities. We've not been clinical enough against Leicester. Bamford has a header. If that goes in, it's a different game. Yeah. As it turns out, he misses. Leicester go straight up the other end and score, and that's key, And against Palace, it's not a 4-1 game. Bamford gets one chalked off for basically pointing where he wants the ball. It's VAR for you. It's absolute insanity. But yeah, how do you see the game panning out, Harry? What's your score prediction? Do Arsenal win comfortably, or based on? I think there's a lot of anticipation and people expecting goals, but I think the way Arsenal have been pretty shot shy, I think we could be in for a pretty low scoring draw, if I'm being totally honest. What's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I think it will be low scoring as well. I do. And when I think back in history, like games against Leeds United, a lot of the work I do, where we work, we have a secondary team that we cover. And mine has been Leeds, actually, from the beginning of last season. So I've watched a lot of Leeds. I've read a lot about Leeds. And for me, it was very much like, obviously there's an old rivalry between Arsenal and Leeds, but to have Leeds back in the Premier League is excellent. And I was delighted when they got promoted. Yeah. But when I think of games against Leeds, all these horrible memories come back. There were some good ones, but there were some really bad ones as well. A couple of victories for you guys at Highbury in the Mark Viduka days. You know, there was a game in '99 where we were chasing the title. David O'Leary was the Leeds boss at the time, and I think Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank scored a late goal and you won 1-0 and ended our title hopes. And I've never really forgiven O'Leary for that, despite being an Arsenal legend. At the end of the day, he didn't have to. He could have let us have it. Leeds weren't going to win the league that year, and he didn't. Yeah. So, but yeah, going back to this game, I digressed a little bit. But going back to this game, I think it will be a low-scoring game. I feel like Leeds are probably the slight favourites. I would have said that had they not been on the run that they're on, but because both of us coming into this game not at our best and some way off where we want to be, I'm not sure. I think this is one that could go either way, but I definitely don't think there'll be as many goals, not from Arsenal anyway, as some people think.
No, I think you're right. I think there will be a lot of people that probably see Arsenal steamrolling Leeds just based on the previous performances. But I know from Bielsa and the team, to be fair, they're not a shy group of lads. They'll know they'll need to put it right, and it's going to be intense, and it'll be a decent game of football. I know that for sure. And hopefully Leeds United can win. I do think it'll be tight though. What's your score prediction, Harry?
I'll go with a 1-1 draw, I think. I'm going to play it safe and go with a 1-1.
1-1 draw. And is there anyone from a Leeds United perspective you're looking out for? Anyone, you're wary of at all? Or
I'm wary of Ayling coming forward down the right-hand side. I think when he gets going, he's like a steam train. And I do worry that if Aubameyang does play on the left-hand side, he's not going to track Ayling back. And so Arsenal need to find another solution to deal with that. Obviously, I'm interested to see a bit more of Rafinha. Looks a bright player, but whether he'll start or not, I don't really know. I actually think Patrick Bamford's had a really good start to the season. He gets a lot of stick. And I've seen that over the last sort of year, partly covering Leeds. The amount of articles we'd written about sort of fans slamming Patrick Bamford. But I actually looked it up for an article the other day, and his XG is around about 5.5, yet he's got 7 goals, I think, in the Premier League this season, in 8 games, I think, which is really impressive. So he's outperforming in that, what the stats say in that sense. So yeah, I'm worried about Bamford. I do feel like Leeds can be gotten at though, and I don't mean that sort of in a disrespectful way, but I look at Robin Koch and I think, yeah, he's a good defender on the ball and stuff, but we have seen moments from him this season where he's been a little bit vulnerable. Yeah. There's Liam Cooper. If he plays, there's fitness issues with Liam Cooper. It doesn't always look 100%, I think. So that's another one. And young inexperienced goalkeeper has done a good job as well. But what I'm saying is, for all the intensity and power that Leeds will bring to the table, I do think there are vulnerabilities, just like we have. So I can't sit here and, as much as I'm a bit downbeat about Arsenal at the moment, I can't sit here and say that I don't think we've got a chance of winning the game, because I do.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think after you'd been beaten by Villa, I was quite surprised. A lot of Arsenal fans that were saying, "Oh, we're going to get absolutely hammered by Leeds," So it was nice to see that, but I don't know if that'll be quite the case. And you're right, Robin Koch has been brilliant since he's come in, but there are frailties there. I think sometimes he's a little bit overzealous, wants to try and get in front of his man all the time and can be left a little bit wanting at times. And there are question marks over Cooper. He's got the tag League One Liam because he's been with us quite some time. But I'm a massive fan of him. But I think Llorente we're still yet to see, obviously, because he's been injured. So we're still yet to see him and where he fits in the defence. I do think Rafinha will start personally. I think Costa's been a little bit off it last few. Yeah. That would be my personal preference for Rafinha to start, because he looks pretty special. But that's it. I think that'll do from an Arsenal standpoint on our opposition preview. I will put Harry's YouTube in the description. Harry, what can we find over there, mate? Do you want to give it a plug?
Yeah, check it out. Chronicles of a Gooner. It's mostly Arsenal content, but we do some general football stuff as well. We have a show on a weekly basis called The Social Club, where joined by different guests, and we literally talk about the big stories from the weekend. just, yeah, all sorts of stuff, really. You can also find it on all the podcast platforms as well. And yeah, it'd be a pleasure to have some of you guys come over if you fancy it.
Yeah, man. Show Harry some love, folks, and get over there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in a bit.